All right, so we got a first episode of Let's Grow Buffalo Live. We'll, well, pre-recorded, of course. But yeah, let's see how it goes. So, Justin, today we're talking about our leafy greens, lettuce at least. Maybe we'll touch a little bit on spinach and arugula. So, where are you right now? What part of the growing situation are you in?
So right now I'm really still doing a lot of bed prep type of stuff. So just getting everything ready out there. I have some stuff started indoors that's getting sort of larger, and I'm thinking I'll probably transplant it pretty soon. I know last year I had some out there by now, so hopefully within the next week or so I'll have some outside.
Okay. Yeah, so lettuce is a cool weather crop. Something that could have made it a little tricky for us is that fake summer that we had, end of March, beginning of April. Um, Lettuce doesn't handle the heat very well. So what a lot of people are assuming with lettuce is that you're going to get leaves, but as those leaves start to grow, or as the plant starts to grow, it sends the energy to the leaves, which is what you're looking for to consume. And if it starts to get really warm all of a sudden, it says, you know what, we got to divert our energy from the leaves up to seed. So the plant itself just starts to get super tall and lanky, and then yeah, right at the top, that's where you'll get the seeds, and it tries to reproduce and move on with its life cycle. So got to keep it cool. Goes down to, I think you were saying about 28 degrees.
Yeah, I saw one source just now looking really quick that you can put your lettuce out early. That's why some people will be like, oh no, what if I get a frost? It should be able to handle that. As low as 28 degrees is what I just looked up, but I definitely had an experience last year where I had some lettuce out there. I knew it could handle some frost, and I woke up in the morning. It was pretty cold, so I went and I looked. You could actually see like ice crystals on the leaves. I was kind of nervous, but when I got home later that day, everything was still fine. So try to keep the faith. Don't worry too much. If it does get a little too cold when your lettuce is out there, it can handle it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing is if you're getting the light bulb going off in your brain, hey, maybe I can plant this in February. Well, your seeds aren't really going to germinate at that time of
Yeah,
year either. So there's a fine balance. So um, the nice thing about lettuce, or at least growing it at home versus having to buy it in the store, is you can say, okay, I'm going to maybe eat a couple heads of lettuce between my wife and I. So maybe I want a couple plants, and then a couple of weeks later I want another couple plants, and you can actually, it's called succession planting. You can get a week's supply built up, and then you can either start them inside or start them in the garden, and just kind of chop away as you go. Especially since lettuce grows pretty quick, you can harvest it before it's ready, versus something like an apple, where you have to wait until it gets to a certain point. The leaves are pretty when you're ready to pick them.
yeah. And there's obviously different types of lettuce. So some of them, like a head forming lettuce, you want to wait until a certain point and then harvest the whole thing. But there's a lot of like I've heard of them called like cut and come again lettuces, where you can cut the whole thing, it'll regrow, and you can cut it again. Or there's others where you just start picking the leaves out from the outside
Yeah.
and let it keep growing up.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a lot of success with my romaine style leaves last year. Um, Probably the only issue I ended up having was with slugs. So yeah, I was going out in the morning, and I was seeing these all these little chomp marks on it. Looked like something had just been eating like the center of the leaf as it went. Um, Tried the old beer trap. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but slugs are apparently alcoholics, and they smell the hops, and they go sliming their way towards that, and they go in, get drunk, and actually drown in it. So it's kind of a cruel trap, but um,
But yeah,
nifty and
I hadn't
times
heard of
tough.
that, but
No.
yeah, I didn't necessarily have a trap for mine, but it turned out they really liked my iceberg style lettuce, so they all just kind of hung out in there and let my other stuff be. So that worked out pretty well, except if I really wanted a iceberg lettuce because I didn't get any.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Okay. So yeah, as far as like soil prep, you always like to have, kind of loose soil. You can put fertilizer in. You can do a balanced one throughout the garden, or if you're looking for a specific thing, if you don't know what to put in there, compost is a safe bet. But if you know you're deficient in it, nitrogen is really important for leaf growth. That's the uh, the corresponding element. And if you ever look and you're wondering what is specifically in a fertilizer, you can look for the N, P, and K values. The first, so if you have like a 10, 10, 10, that's a balanced nitrogen, potassium, and
Phosphorus. I got you.
Phosphorus, yeah. Yeah. Got to remember that K is a Latin word, not an English one. But yeah, that first number is the most important one for that leafy growth that you're looking for.
Yeah, and something I would use, being an organic gardener, is like a fish emulsion. That has very little bit of other nutrients, but for the most part, it's a heavy nitrogen fertilizer, so it's good for that sort of thing.
Perfect. Anything else you got on lettuce?
I guess just one other thing I would mention is just how diverse it is. I guess it'll be a little bit of a plug for somebody that I really like listening to or learning from. Frank Morton out at Wild Garden Seed. He's a lettuce breeder. He actually bred the first lettuce ever grown and eaten in outer space. It's called outrageous. It's a pretty cool red lettuce that he bred. But he has hundreds of different varieties that he's bred through the years. One of my favorite seed packets is actually just one that's a huge packet full of everything he's ever bred. And I just plant the seeds and you see what you get and see what you like. And if you like something and you have space for it, you can let it go to seed and then see what you get next year.
Yeah. Yeah, because you probably get a lot of heirlooms through that.
Yeah, it's all open pollinated varieties, so it's all stuff that you can definitely harvest that seed and reuse it.
Nice. Yeah, I wasn't able to get any last year for my stuff that went to seed. I was just too frustrated. Get it out of there, get the new thing in. But yeah, definitely looking forward to it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something else real quick, kind of in a similar vein, maybe not the same family, but I like having salads, so I want to throw some other stuff in there. So two that I was initially considering starting inside were spinach and arugula, but it doesn't seem like that's a great idea, right?
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't expect the question.
Okay. Yeah, so arugula and spinach. You tried starting at least the spinach last year, right? That didn't pan out so well.
Yeah, I did both of those indoors actually, and yeah, they got kind of spindly. And then once I transplanted them, they didn't really go anywhere. They didn't really do much. So actually, later on in the fall, I figured I'd try it a different way. So I just direct sowed, and they turned out a lot better.
Nice. Yeah, and the nice thing about both of those two is that there's only like a month turnaround time. So you can plug it in the ground and it's another one. It's, do you want baby spinach? Yeah, you might be looking at like 20, 30 days where you can actually start harvesting leaves from it. You can really even start packing that stuff in really tight if you want. There are recommended spacing distances. So if you needed to grow like 10 heads of lettuce or 10 different plants of spinach, you need to give them the space for that. But the nice thing is, especially if you take it a little bit at a time, you're kind of you're not going to get to the point where you're overshadowing anything because you're just chopping down that row and letting the next one continue growing.
Yeah, and like in my system where I use like a 30-inch wide bed, there'll be people that put like 7 rows in something that narrow, and it actually will kind of shade out any of the weeds. And as long as you want to harvest it as like a baby green kind of thing, that's really what you want to do. If you're hoping to get like a bigger full-grown plant, yeah, you definitely want to space them out more. But you have a lot of options with the spinach and lettuce and arugula.
Nice. All right. Well, I guess that's it for tonight's Let's Grow Buffalo live episode.
All right, so here we are this evening. This is the mix of greens bed that I'm going to have. I'm going to have the lettuces, arugula, spinach, kind of interspersed here within my garlic, which is going to be a story for another day. So I was really hoping that I'd have a little bit more progress with the direct sow lettuce that I have, but they're so small right now you can't even see them. It's been a couple weeks. The problem is with the heat, or the lack of heat, and the snow that we had, the germination, instead of taking days inside with a heating mat, has taken weeks to this point. And like I said, you can't even really see the green on the few that are in here. So regardless, I have a row here that's going to be ready to go. And this is stuff that I've actually started inside from seed, and it's had a few weeks under the grow lights. These leaves are getting awfully big now, so I'm going to transplant them in. Now I have probably 7 or 8 different types of lettuce that I'm trying this year, so I did actually write down on my sheet here what goes where, or what cell it's in, and I'm going to make sure I use that same layout when I get it into the bed to match the stuff that I had already sown. That way I know what I'm getting, and maybe I'm going to like a certain type, maybe I won't like it, but this will end up being really good regardless. I'm excited. So I'm going to get these out of the cells that they're in now. I'm going to start transplanting them in. You want to make sure that, as usual, you have a nice even level of soil to work with. You want to make sure it's rich with compost, and even some of the garden soil you can get at the store is fine. It's not ideal, but I have a lot of aged manure in here, horse manure. I know somebody that raises horses, so that's a cheap and easy source for me. Soil's already a little bit wet. So now I'm just going to pop these out one at a time. So the easiest way to do it is just squeezing the cell and then pushing from the bottom a little bit and popping it out like so. I'm planning on planting this arugula over here on the side, so I can basically just use my finger to dig a little bit of a hole, plop it in, and then see the dirt that it was in is already crumbled, so that's causing the leaf to fall over. So you really want to make sure that you get it packed in there. If you need to get some other soil to kind of help out, that's not a bad thing to have some left over. But yep, you want to get it packed in a little bit. Maybe even add a little bit of water to make that stuff easier to work with. Try and make sure it stays standing upright. There we go, that helps. Okay, we're gonna have some great soil here for this to start growing in. So I'm gonna go right down the line and plant the rest of my stuff. And there you have it. Lettuce is planted, mulched to help retain the moisture, keep the weeds down, and watered. I'm going to recommend watering this probably every day for the next week. Just a little bit does. You don't have to drown these out or anything. They're going to look flimsy to start. As they start to settle in, the roots start going deeper, you're going to start seeing more vertical growth, and you're going to start seeing that they're nice and crisp lettuce that's going to be ready to eat. Honestly, if you even want to eat it at this size, you can, but obviously you're going to want to plant a heck of a lot more densely than this if you wanted to eat those microgreens. Anyway, let us know if you like this format. We gave it a try today. We'll see how it works going forward. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget gardening is a practice, and let's grow buffalo.